All right, so this is Godzilla Minus One. It's directed by Takashi Yamazaki. It came out in 2023. I didn't get the chance to see it back then. Somebody's been bugging me constantly about reviewing this movie for a while. So I'm finally doing it. I finally watched it last night. We're going to talk about it today. So in this, we have Koichi Shikishima, played by Ryunosuke Kamiki. Probably messing up these names, but Koichi, he's a kamikaze pilot. It's towards the end of World War II, and he's on an island getting his plane repaired. Even though there's nothing wrong with it, he's a coward basically, and that's how he ends up surviving. Even though he was supposed to be a kamikaze pilot. So while he's on that island, I think it was Odo Island, they end up getting attacked by Godzilla. He's smaller at this point, though. Later on, he's much bigger. And the rest of those mechanics that are on that island, they end up getting killed. But he survives, and he was cowardly when during that because one of the mechanics was like, "Hey, get in the plane and use the gun against it." And he gets in the plane, but he just can't do it. He's too much of a coward. So after that, after he ends up surviving, the war ends and he goes back to Tokyo, which has been pretty much leveled by air raids. And he ends up meeting this woman with this child that actually isn't hers, but she took on responsibility of that child. Noriko Oishi, played by Minami Hamabe. And so they build a family together, even though they're not technically together, and they're obviously not an actual family. Koichi ends up taking work on these wooden boats, collecting these mines from the ocean, left over left over after the war. There's U.S. ones and things like that. Godzilla is now much bigger and has been terrorizing boats and things like that, and is getting closer and closer to the mainland, Tokyo's mainland. They try to take down Godzilla, but it seems pointless. Like they blow up a mine in his mouth and things like that. They were meant to just keep it at bay for this other boat, but this other boat comes and that boat gets wiped out too. And so they end up failing, taking out Godzilla, and Godzilla actually makes it to the mainland and just levels the place. I mean, it is devastation. A lot of people die. So I've heard nothing but good things about this movie pretty much ever since it came out, and I completely understand because this movie's great. Like, honestly, I was blown away by it. After watching multiple movies of just when it comes to Godzilla and Kong, also whenever they're in movies together, it's just it's kind of like a video game basically with these two just fighting each other or fighting other giant monsters. And even though Godzilla's stepping on people, it's like, yeah, but he's still gonna like protect us kind of from these other giant monsters that attack. And you have human characters that are doing whatever just to kind of give them something to do. In this, it's an actual movie. Like there's an actual story going on. You're actually invested in Koichi and his new family unit that he's made, and the trauma, the PTSD, the guilt that this man feels. I mean, he already feels like he should have died in the war. Being a kamikaze pilot and kind of getting out of actually committing suicide like he was supposed to in his plane. But also, he has the guilt of being too much of a coward to potentially help the mechanics on Odo Island. So he's really, really emotional about it. He's having nightmares about it, and you really get invested in him. I mean, his life has been really negatively affected, not only by the war, but especially by Godzilla. And you really feel that, especially with his performance. I mean, all the performances are great. With something that doesn't really work in this movie, because the performances are so great, it makes up for it. We'll get to that. But especially him. I mean, when he really starts to lose it, as Godzilla is just like tearing things up because he feels partially responsible, you really feel it. It's so great. I mean, Godzilla is just. I mean, he's a force of nature, right? Like the tension is insane. Like it is horrifying watching him, take out boats and take out people and step on people and use I guess they call it the heat breath in here, the breath that he does, which is basically like a nuke in here. They put the mine in his mouth and shoot the mine, and it blows up and he regenerates, and then he just completely destroys that boat. And it's like, what are you going to do to this thing? And then he goes into the mainland and just starts stepping on people and taking things out, and he's basically like a nuke going off. And it's like, what are you supposed to do to this? And I'm thinking, okay, what are they going to come up with? And the thing that the scientist comes up with, and these group of guys that come together along with Koichi, the thing they come up with, I was like, you know what? That's clever. That actually makes sense. Like using the water pressure, like sinking, finding a way to sink Godzilla into the like deep into the ocean, to where the water pressure, even for Godzilla being huge at this point, can even potentially affect him. And then also, if that doesn't work, making him float back up to the surface, so the decompression also can do the job. And then you have the thing going on with Koichi, and which is very emotional. The idea of him potentially leaving his daughter figure from what he wants to do. It's a really good climax where I was like, wow, like this is working. Like this really works. I'm really invested. I want these people to live. I want these people to take out Godzilla in whatever way they can, and the way that they're doing it, you just can't help but be in it the whole time. It's fantastic. Negatives. For one, it's a bit long. I think it could be definitely shortened. By the end of it, I was like, yeah, we can kind of. There's definitely parts of this that we could have had go a little bit faster. But the main negative that I have for this is that Godzilla looks very fake. And it's not even just Godzilla, just the CGI in general. There's a point where they inflate this like inflatable raft when they're really explaining, their whole plan when it comes to taking out Godzilla, and that didn't look good. There's also other parts that don't look all that great, where the CGI is just kind of stiff, right? Like I get it that they're going for a certain look for Godzilla. I mean, early on, like when he first attacks Oto Island, like that just looks bad. Like that looks horrible. That's the worst Godzilla looks, and you don't believe that he's actually there with these people, picking them up in his mouth and doing all this other stuff. It's to the point where, like I said, the performances are so good. Like there was a guy that was screaming and like, like he had like spit coming out of his mouth and everything, and he really makes you believe it. So the performances really help, kind of keep you in it, so you're not taken out by the CGI. But it's still really bad, especially in that beginning part. But later on when he's bigger, he looks better. But he's a little too stiff and doesn't really look all that great. Like when he's stepping on people, that doesn't look all that believable. As they're taking him on at the very end, even though I'm really invested in it and I really like it, I couldn't look at him at a certain point because he was starting to get messed up, and it just looked so bad that it was kind of making my skin crawl a little bit. It was kind of hard to look at for me. And then as he's being taken on by the ships and stuff, like when he first really starts to like go crazy and they're trying to hold him back and everything, when he's regenerating, like when his mouth gets blown up and it regenerates, that doesn't look good. It's just everything around it still elevates it to the point where you can still go with it. It's still great overall. But I'm telling you, man, it was really hard to look at that Godzilla. Like, this is really good. I'm glad I finally got to see it and review it. I was going to review it back then, but things came up, I guess. But really emotional. I started to tear up, right? You really do get invested in this main character and his family unit, and potentially having to leave his daughter figure and everything, leave her alone, and after all they've been through. And the guilt that this man feels, his PTSD. I mean, you feel all of it, right? You really feel for this guy, and it's such a contrast with the other more recent Godzilla stuff, where it's like the humans are doing what? Okay, who cares? But in this, you really get invested in the character and his character arc, and what he's trying to do. Finding his inner strength to do what he's doing at the end, and really rooting for him as a result of it. I mean, it's really it's great. I mean, it really is. So I'm gonna give this beyond awesome. I'm gonna give it my highest rating. I mean, it was obvious as I was watching it. I was like, I'm in. Like I'm fully invested in everything going on. Like it was blowing me away. It really was. So yeah, that's Godzilla Minus One. It's still on Netflix. You can watch it if you haven't yet. Highly, highly recommend. And yeah, that's it. We're done.